Hey guys, wanted to get y'all together because I had an interesting interaction last week with one of our clients. Was working with them on some go-to-market stuff, and they were talking about the new website and some new agencies that they were going to work with on it. And they handed me three different proposals from three different companies, one of which was double the price of the other two. And they were like, you know, well, we don't want to get cheap skated. We want to get a good. I mean, all the typical questions. They were afraid that by going with the lower price one, they were getting a lower quality product, and they were afraid that the higher price one was just taking them for money. So I'm curious from Ashley and Chris, like how do you evaluate? How have you guys evaluated, and how do you go about comparing these types of proposals and being able to find what is and isn't needed or what's missing?
Can I get one Webster's dictionary for one real quick? What's an agency?
Oh, Derek opening cans of worms over here.
I'm just
Ashley,
asking.
you
You
want to
hear
handle
you
that
hear
one?
different terms. I'm just wondering if they're all saying the
It's
same
fair.
thing.
It's a fair point.
Do you want to answer, Kristen?
Let's go Hollywood
Why
Squares.
don't you go ahead? You're the expert.
Well, let me pull up our good friend, the dictionary.
Tell me what Webster says. Tell me what Webby says.
A business or organization established to provide a particular service, typically one that involves organizing transactions between two other parties. I could see that. I mean, from my experience, an agency is an extended team of people that can get the job done, whatever the job may be.
Okay.
And because I've worked in a variety of marketing agencies, usually you have the full service where they could do everything from creative to web design to email, social, day-to-day marketing, or you have some that are more specific to a particular area or channel. I think I'm trying to remember what was the question.
Comparing them. So we had three different. I had three different proposals in front of me that were
Yes.
just crazy
sorry.
different.
So I'll say for me, when it comes to, so yes, that's right. So to me, an agency essentially, it's the people to help you execute whatever the thing is. It's an extended group of people outside of your organization. Going back to the question though about the three different proposals and how do you kind of process them when they're all different price points, I think ultimately you have to remember what is it that you want, because you can see a very low price point and you can also see that for maybe a little bit more you could possibly get, a refresh plus content audit or usability testing or overhaul or something else. You have to remember what is it that you want, and then see how does that tie into the overall business goals, because sometimes agencies will be very, you know generous in all of the things they want to promise, but sometimes it's not realistic, especially if you have a certain timeline that you're going off of. So I think paying attention to, of course, what all comes with it and what the price is, but what's the timing? Who is responsible for handling all of this? What resources are available internally on, our side, but also within the agency, knowing what is available. And that's just a part of it. Kristen, I'm sure you have more thoughts to that, but I think it's not easy as you could tell, comparing one proposal to another. But I do think sometimes there are some red flags in proposals, but maybe that's another conversation for another time. But what do you think, Kristen, when it comes to viewing all this?
Yeah, I think you covered some really great points. And one that stuck in my head was sort of the evaluation criteria, or, is it always about how much you're going to get of one thing? Or is that a broadened sort of criteria that goes into experience and expertise, total capabilities, ability to be that agency of record or to provide more services, team team dynamics, team composition, who am I in touch with and what is their role in the organization? Approach, website development often should, from my perspective, have a discovery component prior to like a full 100% quota. But that's not always included in the approach or the methodology for some development shops.
True.
I also think it can get into more qualitative evaluation metrics like creativity or innovation, or maybe even reputation. What did somebody say about them? What was their experience? And then I think at the end of the day, then you want to look at cost and budget and potentially timeline deliverables, because that might expedite everything that you need to have when, and so it's going to cost more because you're asking for more resources up front, which sometimes it's the need of what you're selling for. So
Yeah.
I think, from my perspective, I think taking a methodical approach and just creating the same set of criteria based on organizational needs, based on what I need for my team, what my boss is asking for, what our clients are asking for in all different capacities, and then going through a scoring exercise. From there, you can always ask for additionally detailed proposals if you're having a really hard time. But it's not always just apples to apples. It's not always a cost factor. It's not always one of those specifically. So that's just what I keep in mind.
I have a question. Since I'm very weak on this topic, and I get asked this a lot because marketing and sales are kind of kissing cousins. They go hand in hand. A lot of the times, marketing is head up either by a CMO that reports into the chief revenue or sales officer, or it's a VP that reports in. So a lot of times making this decision is a senior salesperson.
Yeah.
How can I better prepare? Because I don't, like I said, I ask these questions and I'll ask dumb questions all throughout this. I don't have enough expertise to guide them to the right decision on this. Luckily, I have y'all behind the scenes telling me the P's and Q's. But for a sales executive looking at those three proposals, how would you help them make him or her make that decision?
I would jump in and go right back. Yeah, I think it's great, but I'd go right back to that criteria setting. Let's have that conversation. What do we value? What do we need? It's almost like a requirements gathering. What do you need when? What do I need when? And then putting it together. And there you have a tight set of criteria that'll help you analyze down to the wire.
Yeah, it's the same as when I talk, Derek, when I talk to companies that are interested in product development and they're like, okay, we want you to build this thing. And I'm like, great. How do you want that to look? What do you want that to do? How many engagements is the client going to, do they have a signature? Do I sign in page? Do they create an account? Often what people think is, and what they'll do is, hey, we need a new website. And in this scenario, this is what they did. They said, we need a new website. They Googled website agencies, contact form. Hey, we need a proposal. And, they were asking me, and I was like, well, I don't really know. I haven't dove through this because we're working on another phase to the project. But if you haven't defined what I'm hearing from you, and I'm going to take to them, guys, it's like, if they haven't defined the strategy, if they haven't defined how many pages they need, if they haven't thought through the user journey, they need to make sure that's part of the proposal so that they properly plan and build. So you either have to do the work up front, is what I'm hearing from you and Kristen, like to plan it and put a strategy together for how your website fits into the sales process, or you have to pay somebody to help you walk you through that process. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the only way to successfully make sure you're going to get what you want at the end of it. That's really important. You know, what does your happy, what does your satisfied, what does your objectives met look like specifically? I think that'll give a lot of guiding.
Okay. All right. Well, I will make sure I have a conversation with them next week already scheduled. So I'll do that. And I'll let y'all know if they have any other questions, but I appreciate it.
No problem.
Awesome. We'll see you guys later.